The private maternity wing of Starlight Medical Center was buzzing with quiet urgency. White walls, polished marble floors, and the faint smell of antiseptic gave it an air of sterility. Inside a VIP suite, Alina Rivers, 8 months pregnant, rested anxiously on the hospital bed. Her husband, Adrian Cross, the arrogant CEO of Crosstech, stood by the window scrolling through his phone instead of holding her hand. His perfectly tailored suit and gold watch gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Elena's heart ached. She had married him believing in love, but lately she had only felt distance, arrogance, and coldness. "Adrian," she whispered, her voice trembling, "the doctor says I might need surgery. Please, stay close to me. I'm scared." Adrian didn't even look up. "Instead," he sneered, "Alina, do you know how much money this hospital stay is costing me? Your Rivers women think you're entitled to everything. My meeting with investors was worth more than this circus." Tears welled up in Elena's eyes. "This isn't a circus. It's our child." Suddenly, Adrian snapped. He walked over, raised his hand, and slapped her across the face, a cruel crack echoing in the sterile room. Alina gasped, clutching her cheek, her eyes wide with shock. "Adrian, how could you?" "You're weak," he spat, cold and sharp. "You Rivers think money and influence can control me, but I'm the one building this empire. You're just baggage." At that exact moment, the door opened. A tall, commanding man in his late 60s stepped in. Richard Rivers, Elena's father and the powerful chairman of Rivers Holdings, one of the country's largest conglomerates. His piercing eyes froze at the sight of his daughter, trembling and red-cheeked. "What?" Richard's voice thundered. "Did you just do to my daughter?" Adrian's face paled, but he tried to recover, straightening his suit. "It's not what it looks like, sir." Lena was being dramatic, but Richard cut him off with a glare that could break steel. "I built men like you, Adrian. Break you just as easily." Lena sobbed softly, whispering, "Dad, he hit me, my baby." Richard placed a protective hand on his daughter's shoulder. His voice lowered, but it was filled with fire. "Adrian Cross, you've just made the last mistake of your life." And in that moment, Adrian had no idea that Richard wasn't speaking as a father. He was speaking as the chairman who held controlling shares in Crosstech, shares Adrian had always assumed would one day be his. But Richard Rivers had other plans. The next morning, the tabloids were already buzzing with rumors. A nurse had leaked what happened. CEO Adrian Cross slaps pregnant wife in hospital. Crosstech's board members were furious, investors panicked, and Adrian's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He tried to spin it as fake news, but the truth was already spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, the Rivers mansion, Richard sat in his oak-paneled study with his legal team. Alina sat beside him, still shaken, her hand resting protectively on her swollen belly. "Dad," she whispered, "don't ruin yourself for me." Richard looked at her with fierce tenderness. "Lena, listen to me. For years, I gave that boy power. I let him run Crosstech thinking he'd grow into a man worthy of you. Instead, he raised his hand against my daughter while carrying my grandchild. That is something I will never forgive." He turned to his lawyers. "Prepare the filings. We're going to court." The courtroom 2 weeks later, the grand courtroom buzzed with tension. Rows of reporters filled the back seats, cameras flashing. Every time Adrian walked in, smirking confidently in his expensive 3-piece suit, he whispered to his lawyer, "Relax. Richard's bluffing. Crosstech is Menaim, the CEO. He can't just take it away." But Adrian underestimated Richard Rivers. When the judge entered, silence fell. Richard himself rose to present the case. Despite being a billionaire chairman, he spoke not as a businessman, but as a father. "Your Honor," Richard began, his voice strong and steady, "we are here because Adrian Cross abused not just his position, but his own pregnant wife, my daughter. He thinks he's untouchable, but I hold the controlling shares in Crosstech, and today I am stripping him of every last one of them." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Adrian shot to his feet. "It's ridiculous. You can't do that, the CEO." Richard's lawyer calmly presented documents, proof of share agreements, marriage contracts, even confidential board votes. One by one, the evidence stacked up against Adrian like bricks in a wall. The judge reviewed them carefully. Then Richard delivered the final blow. You see, Your Honor, Adrian was only CEO because I allowed it. But according to company bylaws, a CEO who commits an act of public violence that damages the company's reputation can be removed instantly by the chairman. That's me. Adrian's jaw dropped. He tried to argue, his voice shaking now. This is a setup. You can't humiliate me like this. Richard's eyes narrowed. Humiliated yourself the moment you raised your hand against Alina. The judge banged the gavel. Effective immediately, Adrian Cross is removed as CEO of Crosstech. His shares are hereby transferred under trust, pending further review. This court rules in favor of Richard Rivers. The courtroom exploded in murmurs. Reporters scrambled to type headlines. Adrian staggered back, his empire collapsing before his eyes. Richard turned to his daughter and gently kissed her forehead. It's over, Alina. You and your baby are safe now. But as the father and daughter embraced, Adrian's eyes burned with fury. He wasn't done. Not yet. In the shadows of the courtroom, he muttered, You may have beaten me today, Richard, but I'll come back for everything, including Alina. And so the real war had only just begun. Adrian Cross had fallen from the peak of power. In a single courtroom session, reporters hounded him, shareholders abandoned him, and consequence, his pride was now under Richard Rivers' iron grip. But Adrian wasn't a man who accepted defeat. Late one night, in a dimly lit penthouse he had secretly rented, Adrian stared at a wall covered with papers, photographs, and documents. At the center was a photo of Alina holding her belly, standing beside her father. He clenched his fists. You think you can humiliate me, Richard? You think you can steal my company? My legacy? His eyes darkened. I'll take Alina back. I'll take everything back. Meanwhile, at the Rivers estate, Alina sat on the veranda sipping tea while her father read reports. She was quieter now, but something in her eyes had changed since that night in the hospital. Dad, she finally said, I've been thinking. I don't want to be a victim anymore. Richard looked at her, surprised. You're not a victim, Alina. You're a survivor. She nodded slowly. Yes, but I want to be more than that. For so long, I let Adrian control me, silence me. Now, I want to fight back, not just for me, but for my child. Richard's stern expression softened. Well, that's the spirit I hope to see. The Rivers' blood runs strong in you. Handed her a folder. Inside were board documents, financial reports, and CEO training modules. Alina, he said, Crosstech. May have been Adrian's playground, but now it's your responsibility. If you're ready, I'll make you the new CEO. Her eyes widened. Me. But I've never, Richard interrupted firmly. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be stronger than him, and I'll stand beside you. For the first time in months, Alina smiled with determination. Adrian strikes back. A week later, whispers began spreading again. Reporters claimed Adrian was seen meeting with Victor Hale, a notorious corporate raider known for hostile takeovers. At a dimly lit bar, Adrian leaned across the table toward Victor. Crosstech is mine, Adrian hissed. Richard Rivers thinks he can keep me out, but I have dirt documents, secrets. If you back me, we can take the company from him, and from Alina. Victor smirked. You've got fire, Adrian, but fire burns everything, even its master. Are you ready to risk everything? Adrian's eyes gleamed with madness. I've already lost everything. Now I want revenge. Alina's awakening while Adrian schemed in the shadows. Alina stood before the Crosstech boardroom for the first time. Dozens of executives stared at her skeptically. She took a deep breath. Some of you doubt me. You think I'm just Richard Rivers' daughter? But I'm here today not as a daughter, not as a wife, but as a mother who will protect her child. And this company with everything I have? The room was silent. Slowly, the board members began nodding. Richard, watching proudly from the side, knew his daughter was stepping into her power. But the victory was short-lived, because just as the board meeting ended, an envelope slid under the door. Inside was a single sheet of paper and anonymous. Threat, Alina, you stole my throne. Soon I'll take back what's mine. I see her hands trembled, but her jaw tightened. Adrian was coming back. This time she would be ready. Adrian Cross moved fast. With Victor Hale's backing, he began buying Crosstech shares through shell companies, manipulating markets and planting false stories in the media. Within weeks, whispers spread that Adrian was preparing a hostile takeover. Elena's too. Inexperienced, one article claimed. Crosstech needs strong leadership, another wrote. Behind the scenes, Adrian laughed. Let them doubt her. By the time they realize the truth, I'll be back on the throne. The ambush one stormy evening, Elena received a frantic call from her father's assistant. Miss Rivers, it's urgent. Adrian just filed a lawsuit claiming majority control of Crosstech. Elena froze. What? That's impossible. We have the shares. But Richard calmly took the phone and said, let him try. Tomorrow, we'll show him what real power looks like. Courtroom, the rematch, the courthouse was packed. Cameras flashed, reporters filled the aisles, and the nation watched live as Adrian strutted in with Victor Hale at his side. Elena. Won't last a day, Adrian whispered smugly. But when Elena entered dressed in a sharp navy suit, her pregnancy bump visible, yet carried with pride silence, swept the room. Richard walked beside her, like a general leading his heir into battle. The judge banged the gavel. Case 472, Adrian Cross versus Rivers Holdings. Adrian's lawyer shot up. Your Honor, my client Adrian Cross holds controlling interest in Crosstech through undisclosed shares. He demands reinstatement as CEO and full ownership of the company. Gasps filled the room. Adrian smirked, but Richard's lawyer calmly rose. Your Honor, those undisclosed shares were obtained illegally. We have proof of insider trading, market manipulation, and collusion with Victor Hale. A stack of documents was laid before the judge. Screens lit up as evidence played. Recordings of Adrian plotting hostile takeovers, falsified documents, even emails where he bragged. I'll take Elena's company back and make her crawl. Elena's stomach tightened, but she kept her chin high. Adrian's face drained of color. That's fake. They're framing me. Richard rose from his seat, his voice booming across the courtroom. Adrian Cross, you're not a victim. You're a coward. You thought you could destroy my daughter, but today this ends. Then, to everyone's shock, Richard stepped aside and gestured to Elena. She stood, voice steady. Your Honor, Adrian. Cross is unfit to lead anything. He's not just a failed CEO. He's an abuser, a fraud, and a danger to the very company he claims to love. Crosstech doesn't need him. The future belongs to those who build, not those who destroy. The courtroom erupted in applause. Even the judge struggled to restore order. After reviewing the evidence, the judge slammed the gavel down. Adrian Cross is hereby stripped of all remaining shares. He's permanently barred from holding executive office and placed under federal investigation for fraud. Control of Crosstech remains with Rivers Holdings. Case closed, Adrian shouted, voice cracking. No, you can't do this to me. This was my empire. Security dragged him away, his empire crumbling, his name forever disgraced. The aftermath outside. The courthouse. Elena stood before the flashing cameras. My father defended me when I was broken, she said, her voice carrying strength. But today, I defended myself. To every woman who has been silenced, who has been hurt, know this. You are stronger than you think. No man can take that away. Reporters cheered. Investors rallied. Crosstech stock soared under her leadership as Richard placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. Pride shining in his eyes, he whispered, You've become everything I hoped for. You're not just my daughter, you're the future, an Adrian Cross. He sat alone in a prison holding cell, staring at the concrete wall. Realizing he had lost everything, his wife, his child, his company, and his freedom. Elena had risen. Stronger than ever, Richard had obliterated Adrian's empire in court, and justice had finally been served. The betrayal in the hospital. The private maternity wing of Starlight Medical Center glowed with polished marble floors and the faint scent of antiseptic. Inside the VIP suite, Elena Rivers, 8 months pregnant, lay nervously on her hospital bed. Her husband, Adrian Cross, CEO of Crosstech, stood by the window scrolling through his phone, ignoring her pleas. Adrian, Elena whispered, Doctor says I might need surgery. Please, stay close to me. I'm scared. Without looking up, Adrian sneered. Do you know how much this hospital stay is costing me? My meeting with investors was worth more than this circus. Her voice broke. This isn't a circus, it's our child, Adrian snapped. He stormed over and slapped her across the face, the sound echoing in the sterile room. Alina gasped, clutching her cheek. At that exact moment, the door opened. Richard Rivers, Alina's father, and the powerful chairman of Rivers Holdings stepped. Inside, his steel-gray eyes froze at the sight of his daughter trembling in fear. What? Richard's voice thundered. Did you just do to my daughter? Adrian stammered. It's not what it looks like, but Richard cut him off with a glare sharp enough to pierce steel. I built men like you, Adrian, and I can break you just as easily. Adrian had no idea that Richard wasn't speaking as a father, he was speaking as the chairman, who secretly held controlling shares in Crosstech. The chairman's revenge by morning. Tabloids screamed the scandal. CEO Adrian Cross slaps pregnant wife in hospital. Investors panicked, the board raged, and Adrian's empire trembled. Meanwhile, at the Rivers mansion, Richard met with his lawyers. Alina, he said firmly, for years I let Adrian run Crosstech, but he raised his hand against you while carrying my grandchild. That is something I will never forgive. 2 weeks later, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Adrian swaggered in, convinced Richard was bluffing, but Richard presented airtight evidence, shareholder agreements, company bylaws, and proof of Adrian's misconduct. The final blow was devastating. According to Crosstech's charter, Richard declared a CEO who publicly damages the company's reputation may be removed by the chairman. That's me. The judge banged the gavel. Effective immediately, Adrian Cross is removed as CEO. His shares are placed under trust. The court rules in favor of Richard Rivers. Adrian staggered, his empire collapsing in front of flashing cameras. Richard wrapped an arm around Alina. It's over. You and the baby are safe now. But Adrian's eyes burned with fury. In the shadows, he muttered, You may have beaten me today, Richard, but I'll come back for everything. Teeny, including Alina. Adrian's revenge plot stripped of power, Adrian retreated to a secret penthouse. Papers littered the wall, stock charts, board records, and a photo of Alina. You think you can humiliate me, Richard? I'll take Alina back. I'll take everything back. Meanwhile, Alina grew stronger. Dad, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want to fight back for myself, for my child. Richard placed Crosstech's board files in front of her. Then fight. Become the CEO. Show the world you are stronger than him. Alina accepted, and for the first time in months, determination lit her eyes. But Adrian struck again, forming a secret alliance with Victor Hale, a notorious corporate raider. Crosstech is mine, Adrian hissed. If you back me, we'll take it from Richard and from Alina. Victor smirked. Then let's start a war. Soon after, an anonymous letter arrived on Alina's desk. You stole my throne. Soon I'll take back what's mine. Alina's hands trembled, but her voice was firm. Let him come. I'm ready this time. The final showdown within weeks. Adrian filed a lawsuit claiming control of Crosstech through undisclosed shares. The media swarmed. The next day, the courthouse overflowed with cameras. Adrian strutted in, confident. Alina entered in a sharp navy suit, her baby bump visible yet carried with pride. Richard walked at her side. Adrian's lawyer boasted. My client holds controlling interest in Crosstech and demands reinstatement as CEO. But Richard's team unveiled crushing evidence. Recordings of Adrian plotting takeovers, falsified documents, even emails where he bragged. I'll make Alina crawl. Alina rose, her voice steady. Your Honor, Adrian Cross isn't a leader. He's an abuser, a fraud, and a danger. Crosstech doesn't need him. The future belongs to builders, not destroyers. Applause erupted in the courtroom. The judge slammed the gavel. Adrian Cross is stripped of all shares, banned from executive office, and placed under investigation for fraud. Rivers Holdings retains full control of Crosstech. Adrian screamed as security dragged him away. No, this was my empire. The aftermath outside the courthouse. Alina faced the flashing cameras. My father defended me when I was broken. But today, I defended myself. To every woman who has been silenced, know this: you are stronger than you think. The crowd roared with approval. Crosstech stocks soared under her leadership. Richard smiled proudly. You're not just my daughter, he whispered. You're the future, and Adrian. He sat in a prison cell, staring at concrete walls, realizing he had lost everything: his wife, his child, his company, and his freedom. The empire was no longer his. Alina had risen. Richard had obliterated him in court. Justice was done in a hospital. VIP maternity suite, in IGHT. The sterile white room glows under fluorescent lights. Lena Rivers, late 20s, heavily pregnant, lies in bed, anxious. Adrian Cross, 30s, arrogant, in a tailored suit, scrolls his phone by the window. Alina pleading, weak Adrian. The doctor says I might need surgery, please. Stay close to me. I'm scared. Adrian not looking. Up, sneering. Do you know how much this stay is costing me? My meeting with investors was worth more than this circus. Alina, voice breaking. This isn't a circus, it's our child. Adrian slams his phone shut, storms to her bedside, and slaps her across the face. The sound echoes. Alina gasps, clutching. Her cheek, the door bursts. Open. Richard Rivers, 60s, powerful chairman. Elena's father enters. His eyes blaze at the sight. Richard booming. What did you just do to my daughter? Adrian stammering. It's not what it looks like. Richard cutting him off. Deadly calm. I built men like you, Adrian. Then I can break you just as easily. INT Rivers. Mansion study, an IGHT. Richard sits with his legal team at a massive oak desk. Alina, bruised and shaken, sits nearby. Alina softly, Dad, don't ruin yourself for me. Richard firm, protective. He raised his hand against you while carrying my grandchild. That is something I will never forgive. Prepare the filings. We're going to court. INT. Courtroom DAY. The room is packed with reporters. Adrian enters smugly with his lawyer. Richard stands tall beside Alina. Adrian to his lawyer, smirking, relax. He's bluffing. Crosstech is mine. The judge enters. Silence. Richard standing. Commanding Your Honor, Adrian Cross abused his position and my daughter. According to company bylaws, any CEO who damages the company's reputation can be removed by the chairman. That's me, gasps. Adrian shoots to his feet. Adrian shouting, this is ridiculous. You can't do this to me. Richard icy. Controlled I already. Have the gavel slams. Jodigi effective immediately. Adrian Cross is removed as CEO. His shares are placed under trust. Case closed. Reporters explode with questions. Adrian's face twists in fury. Adrian under his breath, this isn't over. I'll come back. In Adrian's secret penthouse. In IGHT, the walls are plastered with stock charts and photos. Adrian glares at Elena's picture. Adrian to himself, you think you can humiliate me, Richard? I'll take Elena back. It's cocket playing back. He dials his phone. Victor Hale, 50s, ruthless corporate raider, answers. Adrian low, dangerous. I want my company back. Will you help me destroy Richard Rivers? Victor smirks. Victoriov got fire. Cross, let's burn them down. In Crosstech boardroom, Deo Alina, now stronger, stands before skeptical board members. Richard watches proudly. Alina firm, passionate. I'm not here as a daughter. I'm not here as a wife. I'm here as a mother, and I will protect my child and this company with everything I have. The room falls silent. Slowly, board members nod. But then an envelope slides under the door. Alina opens it. Close on note. You stole my throne, Sunya. I'll take back what's mine. AC. Alina steadies herself. Alina quiet, resolute, let him come. I'm ready this time. Int. Courtroom final showdown. DA with a courthouse overflows with reporters. Adrian enters with Victor arrogant. Alina enters in a navy suit, her pregnancy bump visible. Richard at her side. Adrian's load, Y-E-R, honor. My client holds controlling interest in Crosstech and demands reinstatement as CEO. Richard's lawyer calmly presenting evidence those shares were obtained illegally. Here are recordings of Adrian's collusion and fraud. Screens display emails of Adrian boasting, "I'll make Alina crawl." The room gasps. Pess. Adrian panics. Adrian frantically, "It's fake. They're framing me." Richard rises, voice booming. "Eres sure, Dino Adrian? You framed yourself the moment you raised your hand against my daughter." He steps aside. Alina rises. Alina rises. Alina Cross isn't a leader. He's an abuser, a fraud, and a danger. The future belongs to those who build not, those who destroy. The courtroom erupts in applause. Judge slams the gavel. Jahudagia Drian Cross is stripped of all shares, banned from executive office, and placed under federal investigation. Case closed. Adrian screams as security drags him away. Adrian raging, "No. This was my empire." Ixed. Courthouse steps. DIY Alina addresses reporters, flashes blazing. "Eli and I, my father, defended me when I was broken. Today I defended myself. To every woman who has been silenced, know this. You are stronger than you think." The crowd cheers. Richard places a proud hand on her shoulder. Richard softly, "You're not just my daughter. You're the future." In prison cell, NIGHT Adrian sits alone, staring at concrete walls. His empire, his wife, his child gone, his empire obliterated. Alina, risen, justice served.